Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's July 10th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and um, it is Thursday, so this will wrap up our week. A short week since I wasn't here on Monday. I apologize again, but I took an extra day for the 4th there. Most of you should already know that by now, but it does make for a short week, so. No chart lesson tomorrow. We'll be back again Monday, and I will be taking a day off next week. Tuesday, I have my uh, doctor's appointment with my heart doctor, and I have to go to Memphis for that. It's about an hour drive for me, and so I will be out of pocket on Tuesday. Won't be any mid-morning chart lesson or afternoon chart lesson on Tuesday. So make sure you make note of that, so you don't think I fell off the earth again. I'll try to remind you on Monday as well. But let's get to today. You can see today uh, we rallied again today. It looked like it was going to be a range day early, but we rallied. And we actually made an equal. I thought we were going to make a new high today, but we didn't. The previous high is 63.33 and a quarter, and today 63.33 and a quarter. So yeah, equal high today. So will we make a new high tomorrow? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. Prices did back off of the highs slightly, but we did close up again today. And I would call this a a mildly bullish day. So um, anyway, there it is on the daily chart. Let's flip over to the 2,000 tick chart and take a look at it. Not many trades. I'm going to tell you right now, there's not many trades, hardly any trades today. Just wasn't a very good trading day. There just weren't any setups, but it is what it is. And anyway, let's flip over there. Okay, here it is, and you can see we started out looking like we were going to work sideways and maybe have a range, and prices broke out and took off. Rallied fairly strongly. I'm not sure what might have came out here around 2 o'clock, if some kind of news or something must have happened. I don't ever pay any attention to that, so maybe there was some kind of news. But notice we turned down almost a perfect measured move based on the original width of the overnight highs and lows. And we turned down just at that, backed off, and then kind of worked sideways from there. This seems to be, this 83.2150 area seems to be kind of the middle of where we were working from in the afternoon. But we did get a spike and channel up. And again, there just aren't many trades here. This is not going to take long. Now, let's go over this first. This is a learning lesson. We had a breakout here, and this person had a bearish bar right here. Actually, I want to say it was this bar because it was just straight sideways, and it was very. Let me see if I can find their chart because I want to show you this trade and show you the mistake this trader made, and hopefully he will learn from it, and the rest of you can learn from him. Let me see if I can find that chart. Okay, here's his chart. You can see where prices broke out, and they're just working sideways there. Now notice that doji, another small body bar, and then there's your third bar. Anytime you have 3 or more bars stacked side by side, at least one of them has no body or a tiny body, that is congestion. Now, there's no rule that says you cannot enter in congestion. But if you do enter in congestion, there's a chance it's going to snap back. Basically, all this is a range. And your highs are right across here, and your lows are right across there. So what happened when he took this trade? Prices broke out. And what usually happens when they break out of a range? They fail. Even if only temporarily, they usually fail, and it snaps back. So anytime you take a trade on momentum like this, you better wait on a lower high just to be sure. And even then, it needs to be a good setup. Even then, if you'd had a lower high right here with a bearish bar, I don't think I would have taken that because it's still inside that congested range. And so that's where he made his mistake, first of all, is that, always wait. I mean, you might argue for that to be green, and the reason would be because it might fail, and guess what? It does fail. So, yeah, on a breakout, you either need a second entry. Now, he does have a close outside and a new high, but that's a fairly strong move up, and that's not much of a new high. A lot of times you're going to get 2 legs up, and that's why you wait on the lower high to be sure that you don't get your timing. You could have the right idea trying to pick a short here and still be wrong. And in the end, this turns out to be a spike in channel, a very strong move up. So, and there's a couple of other things here you got to consider. You can't really see all his chart, but there's only a double top at this high, so you never got your third touch. It looks like it's about to make a third touch here, but it just shoots right on through. So that tells you there's no real resistance here anymore. So this may not even be a range. It may just look like one, which is really what happened. It just looked like a range. So let's flip back to the other chart and we'll go from there. Okay, here we are. His entry was it's probably this bar, except it still looked different than mine. So there's not even a setup to go short on my chart, but he had one, and it failed on him. So, but I don't even see anything that would look like there's no setup. This is your signal bar, and it doesn't qualify. So there's no short on my chart at all. Now, if that would have been bearish, it would have looked more like his, and but actually his bar came way down here, and it only had a little. So I think he was going short right there at the lows of that. And so you just can't do that. You got to wait on a lower high. And even then, there may not be a short there. It needs to be a good setup. And there's just too much momentum right there. So when it didn't turn down, I mean, even when it broke lower, look, the stems, it only has a little bit of stem there. Even on the big bearish part, it only has a little bit of stem. And it closes back up inside that same area there. So just remember, congestion is all it is a miniature range. And what happens when prices break out of a range? They snap back. Even if only temporarily, they usually snap back. Very rarely do they just take off. And so that would have been enough reason to skip that trade. Now, if you could have got in way up here and had room to get out before here with the bearish bar, yeah, maybe you do mark that one green. But that wasn't the case. He had to get in way down here at the lows, and there's not room to scalp out. So never go short in or long in a range without room to scalp out before you reach the highs. And that's just good, smart trading. And so hopefully you learned something there. But let's back out here and go through the trades. There was a 7:30 news unemployment claim, so you had to kind of sit tight and wait. And we're just kind of working, and then we got in this real tight range. And this one's tempting. And again, if you mark it, it'd have to be green. And I'm pretty sure it fails. I don't think there's enough room to get out there. Yep, so you'd have been a one tick failure on you. Now if you let it break a little higher and then get in, maybe you get a winner there. But I'd wait on a lower high, and you just never get one till here, and then you don't have room to get out before those lows again. Now you already kind of cleared it out, but with just a first entry, I wouldn't risk it. I'd wait and see if you got a lower high and or a second entry. You actually already have a lower high here, but it's not a tradable one, so I'd want another lower high or something, another test off that high with room to get out, and you don't have it. Then of course now here it is. Maybe you go long there on that failed breakout because it's probably going to snap back, but and notice here you got plenty of room to scalp out. So maybe you take that one, but you're better off to wait on the higher low. And you don't get it. You end up making another lower low. And you could argue for this one to be green too. Same thing. But you're better off to wait on the higher low, which comes here. And I don't think that signal bar qualifies, and it looks like congestion. So I just sit tight. And it runs up, and you end up getting a nice second entry short. And this actually broke higher and failed and turned down, and that's mostly bullish. So you could go short one tick below that to give yourself a little more room. If you wait till it closes, you may or may not have got in it, but either way, it would have worked if you did. And you end up getting a couple more swings down, and then it reverses. Now, this is close to being a triple test, but the signal bar doesn't qualify anyway. The higher low's not a tradable one. And you work back up, and now you're working down. And same thing, there's just no setups here. Until finally you get a second entry long with a decent signal bar here, and this is a 2-bar matching low. It's kind of hard to see that right there, but it's a 2-bar matching low, and it is a second entry, and you're a little bit away from the EMA. And notice there's no close outside this channel, but there is what looks like an overshoot here. So for that reason, I still marked it green, But I like that trade to some degree. I think if you're going to risk one, that's where you might risk one because it does look like an overshoot. And if you do catch this one, it just takes off. And you probably could have ridden this quite a ways. Um, we already talked about this area. And we're working up. And finally, you get a second entry and a confirmation of a key entry point with a nice signal bar. That turns out to be a quick, easy scalp. Nothing more than that. It comes back and gets you runners, unless you, depending on how you played it. You might just say, hey, we got a higher low, but that signal bar doesn't qualify. And then we're chopping around up here. Now this broke higher. Now you got a 1, 2, 3, maybe even a quadruple test there, and a big bearish bar that closes outside. I went back and forth about this one, but in real time I liked it. I really thought it would drop on down. Now it does come back. It wouldn't have stopped you out, and it does work, but you would have had to take a little heat on that. So if I'd have been marking that after the fact and seen that, I'd probably say, okay, that's a green one. But I liked it in real time, so I'm going to show you how I liked playing that as a live trade in real time. So I marked it like I would have played it. And then we're just working sideways. You can't enter here. There is a higher low, but there's too much resistance across there. Now you might say, okay, maybe you could say we closed outside of it there, but it still can come back. And notice what happens. It comes back and tests that breakout area. That's why you got to be careful with these. This one would have worked before it came back, but sometimes it'll only go a tick or two and then come back. So you need to really know what you're doing to trade out of congestion. Again, there's no rule that says you can't trade congestion, so I want to clarify that. But most of you would be better off if there's congestion to skip it unless you're a really skilled chart reader. Because what happens is you don't know really you don't have enough experience to understand what prices are doing, and even if you're a winner, you might still have a loser there. That's the problem. So you still might have a loser even if you're a skilled trader. But a skilled trader that doesn't lose very often, a loss is not the end of the world for them. But if you're trading at 60 or 70 or 80%, then a loss might be the difference between being profitable and not being profitable. So most of you should probably not trade out of congestion until you're more skilled. Simple as that. This is a skill. Reading this chart and understand what prices are doing is a skill. And if you don't know exactly what prices are doing and where they're going, you don't ever take a trade. Because if you do, you're gambling. If you don't really know what prices are doing, if you're not 100% confident that you know what prices are doing, then you probably shouldn't be taking the trade. But anyway, we end up shooting up higher again. I don't know if there was something that happened here or what caused that, but pretty interesting move up. Then you get a close outside with a first entry and then a second entry. And this is right after 2:30, but it's like it's just after 2:30. And I marked it green anyway because it is after 2:30, and it's a good signal bar. It is a second entry. We don't have a break in a new low. We have a close outside, but not quite a new low. And then it's also after 2:30. So for that reason, I marked it green. I still like that trade. I figure you're going to retest this high before you turn down because that's a really strong move up. And maybe something's off on my chart. I'm going to pause it and reload my chart. Just make sure I didn't miss something there. Okay, I'm glad I reloaded the data because my data I was missing something there. That's just a continuation of that trend. With that extra data, I kind of readjusted a couple of these trends. And that negated this trade, but it added another trade right here. Notice you got to move down first entry, and then you get a close outside and a new leg down. And so that's a second entry long and a nice signal bar. I like going long there because you're still in an uptrend here. And it's not good for much more than a scalp. Comes back. You actually wouldn't have got, I don't think you'd have got stopped out there, even if you'd let it come back. 37, 27, 50, 20, you get a double bottom there. But that's not good enough to go long there on that right after the close. So you wouldn't have had that trade. Now This is getting too far into 230. There is a nice second entry short there. But the only thing it really changed, it changed the way the chart looks, obviously, but it added one trade and took one away. So um, technically, I take that. Actually, we already talked about this one. I don't think you want to enter that one. It is a higher low. There's just not much room back there. And it is right at the key entry point. So if it wasn't so congested, I'd say take it. And it works regardless. But notice how it does come back. So we already talked about the rest of it. Still didn't change a whole lot. But it does explain that I had something off on my chart there with that one big bar moving up there. So, but there it is. Not the greatest trading day. I mean, we've had a couple like this lately where there's just not many entries, and there's not much you can do about it. And it's hard trading because you got to sit there and you got to be patient and you got to be disciplined. And this is where new traders really struggle because they're looking for an entry on every single swing, and you just can't do that. You got to understand what prices are doing. You got to understand where they're going. You got to understand where you think their targets are going to be, and all that good stuff. And sometimes even then you'll be wrong because like here originally you should have had this played like so. And I might still be right and this is an overshoot, but the bigger channel handles it. But that would, if you were originally looking like this, you wouldn't be wanting to go long up in here. There's another second entry here, but it's right into a high. And so there still doesn't change a whole lot up here. But and maybe this is really right the way I have it here. It almost does look like an overshoot of this tighter channel, but that could be expected because we got the bigger channel, and you can see we're playing right off the midline of it, and it looks correct. So that may be why we had the big overshoot because the bigger channel took more precedence over the tighter channel. So anyway, a few learning opportunities today. Again, not the best trading day ever, but not the worst. So yeah, on those breakouts, anytime you're breaking out or in congestion, break out of congestion, treat it just like a range. You break out a range, you got to be sure that prices are going lower. In general, you want to wait on a lower high. Just simple as that. So that way you don't get tricked. And this actually went higher than I originally showed it on my chart. Notice we overshot the measured move now. So if you took it from top to total top to bottom, let's see what we get. Yep. So that does change where the highs were as well. That's where I had it earlier. That's where I would still leave it. And notice we went a little higher before we'd turned down right at that. So yeah, I apologize. My chart wasn't quite right. I don't know what happened. Somewhere late this afternoon when I wasn't watching it, something changed. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it Monday. I'm done for today. Hope you had a good week. This is Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.